Hey guys, so welcome to Monday Technique Talks. This is our breathwork session. So before we start, I just want to chant and say thank you to the teachers who have passed down this awesome information to us through the tradition of yoga, which you are the living, breathing entities of. Thank you for tuning in. We will do call and response. Asatoma, Asatoma, Satgamaya, Satgamaya, Tamasoma, Tamasoma, Jyotirgamaya, Jyotirgamaya, Mrityorma, Mrityorma, Amritam Gamaya, Amritam Gamaya, Om Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. So we'll start today with a little bit of theory, just a little bit, to lay the framework for how we approach pranayama in our asana practice as Ashtangis. So breaking down the word pranayama, two chunks. You have prana, which is life force, the breath, and then yama, which are the observance, is the observance. In Ashtanga Yoga, Ashta, 8, Anga, limbs, we have yama, niyama, asana, pranayama, pratyahara, tarana, dhyana, samadhi. So the yamas, or the observances in Ashtanga Yoga, are ahimsa, satya, aparigraha, brahmacharya, and asteya. These observances translated: ahimsa, nonviolence; brahmacharya, which is sexual observance, right? So not sharing your body with multiple people in a way that disrespects the body; aparigraha, which is like non-hoarding, right? So you want to be generous, right? Generous is a Latin derivative of the word genesis, which is to begin again, right? The beginning of something new. So changing something into something new. So in a way, the non-hoarding, aparigraha, is a deep part of this transformative work that we're doing as yoga practitioners, right? Non-hoarding. And then asteya. So that is non-stealing, again, kind of in tandem with non-hoarding. So not stealing thoughts or ideas or literal things, generally speaking, that's kind of what asteya means. So those are the observances as we understand in the Ashtanga, the 8-limbed system. But the observance of breath in the Ashtanga system as written by Patanjali, it comes in the chapter called Sadhana Pada. Sadhana is the practice, Pada is the chapter. So in the Ashtanga, it's yama, niyama, asana, pranayama. The books in the Yoga Sutras weren't written chronologically, but the steps to samadhi are kind of built from a foundational, like this idea of we're working from a foundation. So the first thing that we're working with, the most important thing, is the yamas, the observances, and the first one is ahimsa, right? So non-harming. Like think of that as the foundation of our practice as yogis and Ashtanga yogis from a philosophical standpoint. And then we get to asana and pranayama, right? So yama, niyama, asana, pranayama. Asana comes first. So we learn to master the pose according to Patanjali. So we master the seat. We master just being able to sit comfortably. So asana is a strong, steady, comfortable seat. The asanas that we practice in primary series are yoga chikitsa or yoga therapy. So we're not just learning how to sit comfortably in meditation as Ashtanga yogis. We are practicing primary series, which is yoga chikitsa. And over this last year, and even before then, we've taken this system of asanas and made them into medicine to meet our individual bodies. And that is a total legal move with the systems, yoga chikitsa, yoga therapy, right? So we learn these asanas in a way where we can be steady and feel rooted and strong. And we master that shape. And then comes the breath. We start to focus on the pranayama, or the moving of the breath energy, and master the breath inside of the yoga pose. So the breath technique that we use in Ashtanga yoga is free breathing with sound. It's not even Ujjayi breath. Pattabhi Jois and Krishnamacharya, when they developed the system, what my understanding of it and what I've learned from Sharaji is you're just trying to keep the breath even and steady. So there's 3 types of breathing that Patanjali talks about. You have the inhalation, you have the exhalation, and then you have the retention. And the retention piece, we were kind of being a little goofy about it at our last technique talk. And we were playing with retention, right? Retaining the breath on the exhale and feeling mula bandha, like feeling uddiyana bandha in that retention. And just, experiencing it. But the Patanjali really warns us against doing advanced pranayama without the guidance of an experienced teacher. Luckily, you guys have one on hand who has 2 thumbs and has done a lot of this breath stuff. This girl right here. But I don't want to overwhelm or overload us. I want to make this fun and kind of juice up your practices. So we're going to talk a little bit about pranayama techniques and a couple of things that you can start to do in your asana practice, easy observances, if there's not a ton to do in the poses, right? Like, for example, Jani Shasana, right? For most of you, there's not a lot to do. You squeeze bandha and you look at the tip of your nose or your big toe and you are in the state of the asana. And that's where maybe a little bit more observance, a little bit more pranayama would come into play. Asanas like that. So Nadishodhana is moving air through the right side and the left side of the nostril only. Traditionally, it's done by closing one nostril, inhaling through the left, closing left, exhaling through the right. Nadis are these energy channels that run up through the chakra system and boop, right into the nose. And you have Ida left and Pingala right. So right is the sun and Ida is the moon. So fire, grounding. And one fun thing to do in the morning is give your right nostril a little sniffy sniff, and sometimes like the right nostril will be a little closed if you're like not trying to get up in the morning. So something that I found really helpful is to just get the energy going through the right nostril to build a little fire in the system. So when you're in the state of the asana, one thing that you can start to observe, Nasagari Drishti, and just think inhale, left, exhale, right. Inhale, left, exhale, right. Just see what happens. You know, for me, when I practice that observance, that pranayama in the asanas where, you know, I'm in the state of the asana, there's not a ton to do. What I find is it has this really intense focusing effect. I don't feel, it's not cathartic. It doesn't feel like the energy drops. It actually focuses my mind and my energy in a way that drishti alone doesn't cultivate. So I'd be really interested to hear your experiences if you guys do decide to play around a little bit with that in the state of the asana. So another breath technique that we're going to do today that I'm going to ask that you don't do in the asana is we're going to do some retention. So what I'll do is count us through some breath work so you guys can kind of feel what it's like to do these more advanced pranayama exercises. And yeah, just see what happens. If you're not there already, go ahead and find a nice, comfortable, steady seat. So find your asana and go ahead and look at the tip of the nose, the cheeks, or close the eyes. Feel your sit bones rooted into the earth. Move your ears back so they align over your hips. Inhale and exhale through the nose. Lips are slightly parted. Tongue rests behind the teeth at the roof of the mouth. Inhale into the chest. And exhale from below the navel. Inhale into the chest. Exhale from below the navel. Inhale into the chest. Exhale from below the navel. Inhale into the chest and hold the top of your exhale for a pause. And then exhale from below your belly button. Do that again. Inhale into the chest. Pause at the top for a count of 3 to 5. And release from below the belly button. Do this 3 more times. And now continue breathing normally. Without any pauses. And now release all observance of the breath. And slowly come back into awareness of our Monday technique talks. How'd that feel? With retention, we start with retaining on the inhale first. Eventually, as a group, we can work on retaining at the exhale as well. But first, experimenting with just that inhale. You can do this in your seated finishing asanas, right? If it's tough to get more time on the mat during the day. Ideally, though, this would be done at a separate time because those seated finishing asanas are just meant to be free breathing with sound, right? We're taking the nervous system up and then bringing it back down in this very controlled way. So sometimes the retention can fluctuate the heart rate, right, as the body starts to adjust to it. So ideally, we would have a separate practice for these things outside of our asana practice. So I'm gonna leave it here for now. Like, guys, this gets really deep. There's a lot of information here, and we could definitely have some fun exploring this. And I think of our times now where the prana, right, the breath, is being so deeply affected, and so many of us are having COVID stuff. So it's just ironic that we had so much interest in pranayama and are looking as a crew to get to know it more. So please, 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 please let me know any questions, concerns when you watch this, and we can kind of riff off of that. Next week, Monday, we have Monday Technique Talks with the abdomen, which, oh man, it's going to be a good one. So get ready, get your tea, and we're going to talk technique and yoga and have a good old time. So without further ado, I will see you guys in the morning, and find a nice, comfortable, steady seat. We will go out with another chant. Call and response. Vakratunda Mahakaya, Vakratunda Mahakaya, Koti Surya Samaprabha, Koti Surya Samaprabha, Aviknam Kuru Me Deva, Aviknam Kuru Me Deva, Sarvakaryeshu Sarvada, Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Thank you so much, you guys. See you soon. Bye. Namaste.